I have been told that this is the Pappy Van Winkle of the Scotch world, and I have a bit of a problem with that. Welcome to Whiskey Catapult, where we catapult around the world, trying whiskeys from all over the world. And today we're catapulting over to Scotland, specifically the Campbeltown region, for some Springbank 10-year-old. So, this is bottled at 46%. It is non-chill filtered, natural color, and is aged for 10 years. Don't see. Here we go. So this one was bottled in March 16th of 2022. So a little bit of a older release, but they're fairly consistent with their product. So I don't think it would change too much different. I have had a Springbank 10 that is wildly out of left field. It's very tropical. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. But more often than not, they all kind of conform to the same profile. So. Mm. It's got some light fruit. It's very earthy. There's some faint smoke on there. A little bit of pear. Wonderful nose. Yeah. Light spice. There's still some of that very faint smoke. That pear is coming through. Some of that earthiness. Not quite dirt, but kind of like a mushroom almost. A little bit of oak spice, but it's really good. Not surprising. A lot of people talk great things about Springbank. So finish has still a little bit of that faint smoke. It's got some really nice oak spice in there. And very faint is some of that pear coming through at the very, very, very end. But this one lingers well. So, as I mentioned, I've seen a lot of whiskey tubers talk about Springbank 10 or Springbank in general, as the Pappy Van Winkle of the Scotch world, because it's very popular, it's very sought after, and yeah, that's kind of true. It is very craft. They do a lot of their stuff by hand. I was fortunate enough to visit the Springbank Distillery a couple years ago. I did the barley to bottle tour, where you basically get to go and they take you to the milling floor. I got to mill some barley, which was kind of cool, or at least move it around. But yeah, in about 8 years potentially, I could buy a bottle of Springbank and say, "Hey, I had some influence in that." So that's kind of cool. But they pretty much do everything by hand. They don't really have a whole lot of computers except for stuff for like tax purposes and like weighing and things like that. But everything there is done by hand. It's very craft, very old school style, and it shows in their product. They make some really, really good stuff. They've got Springbank, which is their main brand. 10% of their barley is malted for that one. They've got Long Row, which is 100% peated malted barley. And then they've got Hazelburn, which is 100% unpeated and it's triple distilled. So if you're not a big fan of peated Scotch, Hazelburn is the path to go. If you really want to try Springbank and what it's about, that's the better path of entry. Springbank would be a close second because it is lightly peated. A lot of people don't know that. And that's usually why my main issue with people calling it the Pappy Van Winkle of Scotch is because most people that I hear say that are bourbon drinkers. And the issue with bourbon drinkers is they generally don't like peated Scotch. And so I hate when they say that because then bourbon drinkers are like, oh, hey, I'll go buy some Springbank because it's rare. It's hard to find. It's supposed to be like the best Scotch available, stuff like that. They're not wrong about that, but I don't think they know that it's peated. And that's kind of an issue. They're basically going to get it and they're going to be very disappointed and they're going to be like, oh, I don't like this because I don't like peated Scotch. So be very careful listening to that. And that's kind of my main issue with that. And no, I'm not just saying that because a lot of bourbon drinkers have been buying up all the Springbank in my area so that I can't buy it. But I'm very concerned for them. You know, I don't want them to be buying some product that they're not going to end up enjoying at the very least. Hmm. So it's had some time to open up a little bit. It almost has like this yogurt kind of note on the nose, kind of like a yogurt cream. The peat smoke is kind of dialed back a little bit, but there's still some of that earthiness kind of coming through there. It's very nice. Yeah. Smoke is still there, but it's very, very faint now. Still has some of that light spice, earthiness, and pears coming through. A lot more fruit is actually coming through now. Still has some of the oak spice coming in. This is a complex whiskey. Yeah, really good. So, yeah, not too much changes on the finish. There is still a little bit more fruit coming through, but still has that faint smoke. Still lingers for a while. I'm gonna add a couple drops of water to this. But if you've never had Springbank before, I think everybody should. I think it's worth trying to find at a bar first, especially if you're a bourbon drinker or just not a fan of peated Scotch. This one being 10% of the barley being peated, it's not overwhelming. I think this is not a bad entry level for peated Scotch drinkers. I think you're more likely to go for like a Talisker 10 or something like that. But I had Springbank 15 early in my whiskey journey, and I got it at a bar, had a pour, was really excited to try it. I didn't really enjoy it that much. And I think part of that was because I just couldn't really appreciate it. I wasn't far enough in my whiskey journey to be able to pick out a bunch of notes, and I just kind of struggled with it. So I thought it was fine. I remember like taking some notes on it while I was at the bar, and didn't fully get the hype, you know. And that still pains me today because I have pictures on my phone of shelves on liquor stores where I sent a picture to a friend of mine to say like, "Hey, have you heard of this one? Have you tried this whiskey?" Stuff like that. And right next to it is a full row of Springbank 10 or Springbank 15 or even Springbank 18, and just didn't really know much about it at the time. So definitely not something that you should jump into earlier in your whiskey journey. Don't think you'll appreciate it quite as much. And again, I'm not just saying that so that people stop buying up Springbank so I can get it for myself. Not at all. Just a warning. Doesn't mean you can't buy one, sit on it for a while, work through your whiskey journey, and come back to it from time to time and get a better appreciation for it. But I definitely have a fear with especially bourbon drinkers talking about it and saying, "Oh, it's the Pappy Van Winkle of Scotch," because that clicks something in their brain of like, "Oh, it's got to be the best Scotch ever. I'm going to like it right away." Not how that works. Not how that works. If you're a bourbon drinker and you're interested in getting into Scotch, get some Glenfiddich 12, Glenlivet 10, get kind of an entry level like that, see if you like it, and then work your way up the ladder. That's the best way that you can progress in your whiskey journey. Okay, a little bit more of the smoke's coming through now with water. Still has that pear. Still has a little bit of earthiness in there, but doesn't change too much. That's not surprising. It's 46%. Mm. A lot more fruit coming forward now. Definitely have some pear, some apricot is coming through now. Still has some light spice, light peat, kind of settling at the bottom. A little bit more wood, a little bit more oak influence now, but still earthy. There's a lot going on here. Very complex, very enjoyable. Mm. Yep. So in my area, I can pretty consistently get this for 80, $85. I think the most I've seen it for outside of a secondary price was $90 US. And it's getting into that realm where if it gets to $100, I don't know if I can pull the trigger on it as much as I enjoy it. The 15-year and above are really expensive. They're getting into, I think the 15-year was like 150, 160 in my area. And the last time I saw the 18-year, I think it was borderline 250, $300. Haven't had the 18-year yet, so I can't speak for that one, if it's worth it or not. But for this one itself, it's worth picking up for $90. Hundreds going to be in that, like, do I really need a bottle? Like, this one's getting low. Do I need a backup or something like that? I might bite the bullet and get it for 100, but $80 would be more close range. I think in the UK and Scotland area, like, this is probably like a $60 whiskey. Like, it's not that high, but tariffs, import fees, all that stuff kind of goes into play. And the fact that this sells out very quickly probably plays into that as well. This is one of the few bottles that I've actually waited in line for whiskey. I've waited in line 3 times for whiskey in my entire life. This one was the first time, and honestly, the main reason was because I knew it was dropping. It was on a Saturday. I was actually dropping my wife off at a friend's house. They were going to a convention or something, and the shop was like 5 minutes from where they lived. So immediately after dropping them off at like 9 o'clock, went over to the liquor store, stood out in line for like 45 minutes. I got a Springbank 10-year-old. I got one of the 12-year-old cast strengths. Happy camper. I'm good. But it was more of a coincidence than me going out of my way to wait in line for the whiskey. The other 2 were for bourbon, and they weren't worth it. I think the first one was for one of Specs Bourbon Days. I think I was in line for 7 hours, and it rained on us. Not a fun time. Got some decent bourbon out of it, but never again. Never again. And the other one was for Still Austin Tanager, where we stayed outside the distillery overnight. It's with a group of friends. We had some fun drinking, doing bottle share with some of the people in line, stuff like that. But never again. Never again. So it's one of the few ones that, I'll try and go out of my way to pick up. But I really like Springbank. If you're into Scotch, you probably have already had Springbank before, or if you haven't, don't have it be one of your first scotches. You're not going to like it as much. You're not going to appreciate it as much. Start with something simple and work your way up, especially if you're a bourbon drinker. It's peated. I don't think you're going to like it right away. So, but yeah, worth picking up for $80, $90. So, if you enjoyed this review, hit that like button and subscribe to see where we catapult off to next. Cheers.